All right, let's talk about this fat area above the eye. What is this and how to sculpt this? So whenever we sculpt something, we always try to look at the generic stuff, develop our understandings, and then look at some specific or anomalies. Now, a general pattern that you're going to see in every eye, in any generic eye, is that above the eye, there's going to be two layers. One is going to be the upper eyelid, and then is going to be a layer of this fat above the eyelid and under the eyebrow. Okay, and this pattern you're going to see in every eye. All right, you're going to have the upper eyelid, then you're going to have this crease. This crease is super important, and above this crease is going to be this layer of fat. Now, to understand this, I made this head and a skull dissection, whatever you want to call this. And yeah, you want to know that the eye socket is actually pretty big. Okay, and the eyeball is really small inside. So what happens is that over here we have the eyelid, and above the eyelid, all of this area is covered by fat. This fat usually comes in a shape like this. All right, it's sort of this pouch shape hanging above the eye. Now this fat can have all sorts of shapes. All right, for some people it's going to be super puffy like this. For some people, especially old people, as the skin becomes loose, it hangs above the upper eyelid. Sometimes it also overlaps it. So this type of fat also exists. Whereas for some people, this area is going to be super smooth and super planar. Okay, what is common is that we're going to see the ridge for the eyebrow, which is going to be this part of the skull. This is going to be visible. And below this, of course, we will have some space. This fat will cover up the space between the brow ridge and the upper eyelid. Now, an important thing to notice is that some people have eyeballs which are set quite up above, which also brings the eye up above, and hence this space becomes really thin. A really good example of this is Cillian Murphy, and you can see that his eyes are deep set. Also, his eyes are quite up, so there's very little space between his brow ridge and his upper eyelid. You can see that the fat is very minimal on his skin. You can almost see the orbit of his skull. There's a lot of upper eye exposure, and because of how exposed his orbital area is, that is why we also get to see the death stare of Tommy Shelby, the scary death stare. Now, an important detail to keep in mind is that all sorts of variations to this exist. All right, and that is why we study the generic forms. The generic form is just that there's going to be an upper eyelid, there's going to be a crease, and between the brow ridge and the upper eyelid, there's going to be this layer of fat. And like I told you, for some people, it's going to be puffy. You can see how puffy it is in this girl. For some people, it's going to be really droopy, so you can see how much of the upper eyelid this fat covers. And you see for older people, it hangs a bit, it hangs above the upper eyelid, it overlaps it. So all sorts of variations are going to exist. What you want to do is you want to understand this form. So the form is simple, like I told you so many times already. It's the upper eyelid, the crease, and then the fat. And then any sort of variation, when you look at your reference, you can copy it. An extreme variation of this is the Asian eye, which is my favorite eye, by the way. So Asian faces have very flat features. So if you look at them from the side view, they have really flat features. Okay, all of the features are super close to the surface of the face. Unlike in this example where you can see, that the eyes are really deeply set, Asian faces will have the features very close to the face. Yeah, as you can see here, see how close the features are to the surface of the face. And because their eye sockets are not that deep, they also have these really unique eyes. So instead of the socket and the fat, they just simply have this layer of skin. That is it. There is no fat pouch. There is no crease for the upper eyelid. It's not a layered structure like we see in the generic eyes. Like you can see it over here as well. There is literally no crease. This is just a layer of skin covering the entire area, and it's super cool. You see, we cannot see the pouch shape that I showed you for the fat. So only when sculpting Asian eyes, this form does not exist. Okay, these are really unique eyes, and I just love Asian eyes. You can see that there is no crease. You can see a bit of the crease here. The eyelid just folds inside. It's super interesting. Now, how do you sculpt this? Now, when you make these sockets for the eyes, all you want to do is you want to mark the shape of the eyes right here. And then you see this socket, the orbital for the skull. It is literally this part right here. You mark the eyes and then you make this layer of fat above it. Yeah, once you have these features, you can by all means go ahead, make the eyelids. You dig this in, you add the eyeballs, you wrap the eyelids around the eyeball. There's literally no need to eyeball this. And yeah, once you get this far, there are a few things you can do. You can mask the upper eyelid like this, also a bit of the lower eye so you don't affect this. And then you can use the clay strips brush to add this fat. Like I showed you, you add it in the same way, this pouch shape. The only thing that you need to be wary of is that it doesn't really affect the silhouette of the grill. Now you can see this is a bump. So what you want to do is you just want to smooth it out. Okay, you can clear the mask. You can emphasize between this crease that we have for the upper eyelid. You can crease it if you like. And yeah, you can mask this area once more. And then you can also pull this fat down a bit so that it overlaps the eye very slightly and then smooth it out. Okay, also make sure that you emphasize this orbital of the eye, the skull. And that is how you can get this form. Yeah, if you're interested in learning how to sculpt heads and if you need a step-by-step approach, you can join my free community where I gather all the artists who are interested in sculpting. By joining, you will get access to this free head sculpting course, which will show you exactly step by step how to sculpt a head. Now, this course focuses only on the essentials and is designed to get you results. You can see where the members start and where they end, and an average student starts seeing results within a month. This is a very niched community. Everyone is interested in sculpting, and everyone knows you are the sum of the 5 people you spend most time with. Now, when everybody is sculpting and everyone is getting progress, you don't want to feel like you're left behind. So yeah, subscribe if you found this very useful and join via the link in the description right now. Goodbye.